Welcome, everyone. Episode 68 of the Health and Wealth Podcast. Steve Giordano here with very special guests, the EVP of FFL Inception, Mr. Matthew Borsh. How we doing today, boss?
Hey, what's up, Steve? Thanks for having me, man. Doing great.
Round of applause, because you are a killer. You are the persistency man, so I definitely want to talk about that for sure. But let's start here. You've been at FFL now, you told me, since June of 2020. What did you do prior?
Prior to that, not much, because I was 24 when I got in. So I didn't have a super extensive work history. It started in sales when I was in college, sophomore in college. I needed a job and was kind of just doing the typical college stuff, delivering pizzas, that kind of random stuff. And then I heard about a job in sales where you can make $13.50 an hour plus commission. So I was like, oh, dang, that's rich. So I started doing that. I did door-to-door sales with lawn care. So I did that for 3 years through college. And then that's actually where I met Mike. He was my sales manager there. So that's when I first met him. And then after that, graduated college, got married, all that in 2017, jumped into an account manager position there. So now I had a more normal shift. I was kind of looking at that corporate ladder. That was the next rung, and that came with the salary plus commissions and perks and all that kind of stuff. So it was decent money, very easy gig, just show up, do your numbers. And so I kind of got accustomed in that job to doing the least amount of work for the maximum paycheck. Because you know how every W-2 position, even if you have commission or not, there's kind of that ceiling, where you can only hit so much, and they're always changing your commissions. In any sales gig, they're always changing the commissions every year to make sure that their sales team isn't making too much. You want to keep them hungry, but not feed them too much. So I did that for 3 years. Really didn't love what I was making or what I was doing. I didn't feel like fertilizer and weed control was changing anyone's lives, and it certainly wasn't getting me excited. So I was looking for all kinds of different stuff, man. I was looking at real estate. I was looking at pharmaceutical, medical type sales. I didn't really feel like the entrepreneur type. I still don't, but so I thought that salary plus commission was the way to go. I was convinced. I was like, I got to have that base stability.
Yeah.
Yep. I've got to have that stability for my wife and my mortgage and all that stuff, but I want to be able to make more than someone else with that, commission hustle. So that's what I was pursuing. Heard about this from a couple buddies of mine, and that's red flags immediately going off in my naive brain. I was like, oh, pyramid scheme, MLM, you guys can take that and pound sand, And the problem is they were showing me bank statements too while they were telling me about it. And you can't fake that. You can't fake commissions in the bank account. So they were showing that to me, liking what they were doing, and they weren't going to jail. So it was obviously legal. So I was watching that, and I couldn't argue with it. Everything I came up with, they had an answer to. I was like, well, I can't quit my job. They're like, you don't have to. I was like, well, I don't really have much money. They're like, it's super cheap. Just get your license. We'll pay for the study course. I was like, all right, well, I'm not going to sell friends and family. You don't have to. We have leads. I don't want to have to build a team. You don't have to. You can just make a ton of money selling. So I was like, dang. So they hadn't answered every one of my objections that I was trying to come up with. So I was like, well, I guess at this point I have to try it. I got to at least try it because I'm going to hate myself if I don't. So June, that's when I hopped into it part-time. Sucked like crazy. I mean, I thought I knew sales. So I was one of the least coachable new agents you would ever meet. Not on purpose. I just wasn't trying to improve or get better. I just assumed that since they filled out the lead, I just had to show up and collect the check or something, and I wasn't working that hard either, because I was treating it like an Uber of sorts. Like you just show up and you get paid kind of a thing, and that's definitely not what it is. You can't just show up, because the minimum here is zero. And like I said, I was used to putting in the minimum effort to collect the check, and I brought that mentality here with me. So first couple of weekends, I made nothing. Spent money on leads, didn't work that hard, didn't reach out for a lot of help. So that's where we were. So a couple weekends in, I realized, okay, either this sucks and isn't going to work, or I suck and need to go to work, and decided to swallow the ego pill a little bit and choked that one down and made some dials Wednesday after my work, booked an appointment, went out there, 2.5 hours in the home. I was wearing
Wow.
a sport coat and a button up, looking like a dang fool because I was so nervous. I
That's
was
funny.
trying to overcompensate. And yeah, so 2.5 hours in, hadn't even signed into the carrier portals and stuff. So I'm like calling Gabe, like, oh, what should I do? And oh, crap, I haven't logged in there yet. So that was a rough one. But with that husband and wife, I made commissions equal to a 2-week paycheck at my current job. So that was a pretty easy ride
Wow.
home, calling my wife Cynthia and just saying, hey, like, I need to do this. I have sucked for 2 weeks now and just made what I would have made 2 full weeks at the job. So turned in
Right.
my 2 weeks notice and started full time July 1st. Haven't looked back since. So that's kind of my story there.
Wow. So, did you have any entrepreneurial like background at all in your family, or no?
No, none whatsoever. If is it possible to have like negative entrepreneurial background or something
Yeah. Yes, I think
like
I'm
like
I'm with you on that actually.
yeah. Yeah, no, it was not at all. Like it doesn't come naturally to me. I was scared to death. I didn't think it made any sense. But like I said, when you're not happy with what you're making or what you're doing, you have to consider getting uncomfortable for a change. You can't just sit around whining. It's like what I do at the gym. Oh, I'm not bulking up fast enough. Well, okay. Did you eat an excessive amount of protein and supplements and hit the gym consistently? No. Okay, well, stop whining about being a shrimp then. It's pretty straightforward. It's just in the business side of things that I hadn't experienced yet. So no, zero entrepreneurial background whatsoever, but I had a desire to put my family in a better situation, and this was the best opportunity I could find.
I love that. And it's funny how you say like you still don't feel like an entrepreneur, because I kind of feel the same way. Like we do
Yep.
it, we're doing all the things, but we're also kind of learning on the fly. You know what I mean? And
Oh,
I want to
100%.
ask you how you learn. I kind of know what you're going to say, but what are things that you do tap into people to now learn how to live this different entrepreneurial life?
100%. Something I learned, right away in this business, and thankfully it applies at every level. The move fast and break things kind of mentality has been huge, and that's not something that comes naturally to me or I'm accustomed with because I'm a very planning, think through, OCD,
Yep.
be 100% on it before you even think about taking the first step kind of a guy, and that just doesn't work in business ever, let alone here. So that's been something that I've constantly had to push myself on, reminding myself, hey, no, you got to do it. You have to spend the money, you have to invest the time if you're going to see anything out of it. So that's been a huge learning curve for me. But that's what I've kind of had to implement is put the activity in and then plug into the people that are where you want to be. I heard it put the other day, never take advice from someone you wouldn't trade places with.
Mm.
So find those people that you wouldn't mind trading places with and take advice from them while you're putting in the activity. And so that's kind of been my learning curve over the last 2.5 years is put in the work, put in the time, put in the money, reach out, learn from others while you're also learning from yourself and your own mistakes. And that's how you grow at a faster pace than normal.
Love that. So now you start taking it seriously. You become a top producer. You become a Hall of Fame producer. And you had an amazing story of your persistency and what you did to keep very, very high persistency. And I think that's a key thing. It's not about all the money and the issue paid that you sell. It's about really what you keep. Industry average is typically that, like, we'll call it 20, 25, 30. You are, I believe, 90% stays on the books or something like that.
Yeah, it's in the low double digits, depending on what day you look at it or what carrier you look at it with. But yeah, somewhere around 12 to 15% is typically where I'm hovering. It's funny because we recently had a guy on the team this past year do a 3%,
Wow.
and so that was especially mind blowing. But yeah, no, I went on a huge journey because if I show my sales tracker that I keep, just an Excel file of my clients and sales that I make and stuff, if I show that. I put green when I tell them, hey, congrats, you're approved, everything's good to go. And I put red whenever they tell me or I find out that they want to cancel. If you look at that for when I first started, it looks like a bloodbath. It's disgusting. All of the red on there. So that was a huge learning curve for me because I was depending on just kind of throwing it out there instead of learning how to do a better job, building more value and emotion in the sale versus just, oh yeah, we got to see if you're approved, sign here kind of a thing. doesn't work out. Feels good in the moment, but then when you owe that money back, it's like, all right, we need to change something here because that's too emotional of a roller coaster to ride for most people, definitely myself.
For sure. What's one thing you can attest to what made the difference in keeping more business on the books?
100%. I don't know if I can bring it down to one thing. I'll give you two. Yeah, sure. I don't know if I could relate just to one thing. The first thing I did was I made sure to not avoid the pain point. So when I was first starting off, what I would do is I'd have them pick a plan, and then I would almost try to like hide the number from them after that, like not wanting them to think about it. Like, oh, I want this one. Okay, cool. So, and then I won't bring up the number or, you know, how the payment's going to work or what to expect going forward. It's just like, okay, quick, get it done, get them approved. So I flipped that. Once they pick an option, I'm going harder into it. Okay, so just to confirm, this is what you're getting coverage for. This is how it's going to work. This is how much it's going to come out of your bank account every month. Not coming out yet because you're not approved yet, but it will within the next couple of days. Then it'll be automatic every month from there. Is that going to take food off the table if you have a, you know, tire blowout or the fridge stops working? Is this something you can keep in place for the long term for you and your family? And so I instead of trying to rush past it, I dive into it so they know what it is. And because if it is too much, we need to lower it. You know, we're in a unique industry where we get paid so much for helping a client. You don't want to upsell them or oversell them something.
Agreed.
Because it's not just a one-time transaction. It's build the value. You'll be able to sell more if you build more value and solve bigger problems, because that's what sales is, right? Solving someone's problem and getting paid for it. So the bigger problem you solve, the more you'll get paid. But you have to make sure it's something they see the value in and something they know they can afford long term. So that was one thing. And then the last thing I feel like I did better is tying it down much harder at the end. So instead of just, okay, cool, you're approved, see ya, bye, and hanging up or, you know, leaving the house, it's, okay, great, looks like we're able to get you approved. But then I'm going to go into more details about what to expect and something that I don't remember who I heard it from, but the last interaction or the last subject that you're talking about with a client before you leave them, you want that to be the first thing they think about when they see that second month's charge come out, right? Because the first charge they're going to remember, right? It's 2 or 3 days later when it processes, they're going to remember the entire conversation and all that. Totally fine. That second one though, that second month where a whole month of life has passed and they see America, what's an America? Honey, did you sign up for something, right? They're trying to figure out what that is. As soon as it dawns on them what that charge is, what's their first thought going to be? And from my experience, the best way to control that thought is how do you leave the appointment? Yeah. So I'll remind them everything that we're doing, but I'll remind them why we did it too. Like, hey, Steve, I know you didn't wake up this morning looking for another $175 a month bill for the household, but that's why we're doing this today, because you told me a few minutes ago that if something happened to you, that Margot and the kids would be screwed. And so that's why we're doing this. This is the most important bill. It's the newest bill, but it's not the least important. It is the most important bill that you have now going forward. So when those tough months come, because everything always comes in waves, right? It's the car, then it's the fridge, then it's the roof, then it's the kid, and it all happens in the same month. So when those type of months come, make sure that you're canceling the Netflix and the Amazon and all the different random stuff that adds up to way more than $175 a month. Make sure you're canceling all that stuff before you even consider messing with this coverage.
Love that.
And then I'll leave it on that.
Yeah,
100%. And then I'll leave it on that. Make sure they have my contact info saved in their phone. So that way I'm the guy that's getting the first question or concern they have, not the insurance company, because they're not going to work to save your business. Yep. And and those are two things that I feel like, among others, have really helped. Those have been the main two that have really, really helped keep clients on the books. And then also understanding that you're not going to save everyone either.
Right.
Yeah. You know, it's not going to be a 0% chargeback, but if you can get it in the teens to low teens, I feel like that's a great way to run a business.
100% profitable. So now you obviously came into a culture with the guys that brought you in, Gabe and everybody there, of growth and building. So first you're kind of figuring out the sales side, and you had said earlier, like, you didn't want to hire anybody. At what point did that change to where you said, hey, I see integrity, like your hat, as an opportunity, and I want to build?
100%. That I'm thick-headed, so it took longer than it should have. But for me, it started off. I think I can point to two things. The first one was I was worried about being that guy,
Yep.
that guy with the opportunity. But over time, I realized that you're only that guy if you care more about yourself than you do the person that you're talking to, right? In other words, if you're recruiting to make a buck, to build your team, to build your ego, if you're recruiting for yourself versus telling someone about something with the intent and goal of helping them change their life, there's a big difference. In most places, the reason that opportunities have such a cliche kind of stereotype is because most people that are selling an opportunity are broke.
True.
And can't really help you make a ton of money.
Right.
But once I realized here, that's not what we do or how we do it. The only way that I get excited about recruiting someone here is if I can help them and help them make a ton of money, which coincidentally is why people join for the most part.
Right.
It's one of, if not the only reason they join. And so that realization was a huge light bulb for me, realizing that I'm not that guy. I know it in my heart. I want to have a ton of people on the team that make a ton of money. I don't want to have them here just to have them here. And then the other realization was, I would say a good 6-7 months into it, around the turn of the year, kind of going into my first convention, leading up to it, I started realizing, like, hey, I have sucked supremely for the last 6-7 months, but I actually netted more in those 6 months from July to the end of the year in 2020. I netted more than I had grossed at my account management job plus my wife's income in 2019. Like, our entire household W-2 tax filing was less than I netted in the first 6 months in this business. So it's just like, holy crap, if an average schmuck like me can do that in 6-7 months, what am I worried about? Like, why would I not tell everyone about this? Because all I did was go to work and make a bunch of mistakes and learn and grow and keep going to work. Why would I not tell a ton of people about this? So that was, I would say those are the two biggest things that I would point to that helped me get out of that selfish, I'm only in this for me type of mentality, to actually being willing and capable of sharing it with other people.
I love that. So now, a lot of things change in building where I'm sure you guys, much like we were, more of an in-home. Then we get into this telesales, this virtual game. How was that transition for you? Because you were an in-home guy starting out, right?
100%.
100%, right? How was that for you? How was that transition? How is it teaching people now? And what growth have you seen from it?
Yeah. So I've been here 2.5 years, a little bit more. The first year and a half, I was completely in the field. And I was very slow to look at the virtual space. But so many people were going that route, and so many people smarter than me. I got to the point where I was like, all right, I can't keep arguing with with people that are smarter than me about going virtual. Like, it makes too much sense. Like, I need to just do it and figure it out just like I did anything else. And one of the things I realized when I jumped in was that it's not really that different. It's the same process. You just have to look at the numbers a little bit differently, because if you're booking appointments, less people are going to show up. But if you know that going into it, it's really not emotional. It's pretty straightforward. It's just a numbers game like anything else in sales. And now if you're virtual, leads aren't a problem, because you have the whole entire US instead of just a 2, 3, 4 hour radius for driving and wherever you're willing to fly to. Like, that's what I was doing in the field. My closest run area was an hour and a half one direction. Most of mine were 2.5 hours in one direction. But it was like, hey, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. So with virtual, it buys back so much time, allows so much more lead availability. And the thing I like most about it is how much quicker you can help agents get off the ground, because you're able to dial together. You're able to run in-home appointments together. And you can literally just be coaching them through the appointment as they're on the appointment. You can't do that in a home. You can't go and stand behind a new agent in front of a client and tell them what to say the entire time. That's super weird and definitely wouldn't go very well. But you can absolutely do that over Zoom when they're on the phone with the client. Hey, give me 1 second. They put them on mute. You're on Zoom with them. You've heard everything that's going on so far. You can just tell them, hey, do this, this, and this. Hey, say this. and it's helping them get paid so much quicker, helping them get off the ground quicker. So pros and cons to each, but definitely more pros to virtual, I would say. Some of the cons is just you have to be more disciplined. You have to be
Yeah,
a lot more
for sure.
disciplined,
For sure.
and you still need to be in an office. I believe that wholeheartedly, because it's much easier to go to work mentally when you're going to work physically than if you're staying at home. It's a lot harder to go to work because physically you're still at home. Mentally, you have to go to work. So that's a big struggle for a lot of people, and I definitely still go to the office every day. So those are some of the adjustments that we've made going virtual. But now the team's pretty much 95, if not 100% virtual at this point.
Yeah, I love that. So now one of the things from an outsider view that I think you've done a very good job of is in your growth, you have developed leaders, right? So when you look at like legs, how many like legs of leadership would you say you have?
Yeah, so we have 4 official logos, one that's being processed currently, pretty much a 5th. The goal is to have 12 by the end of this year. But yeah, that's where we're at now.
Because to me, anybody can hire agents, but when you develop leaders, that shows you as the leader. So my first question is,
Sure.
those leaders you have, are those all warm market or any cold market?
One is cold market. Two, I'm sorry. One's cold, one's natural, 3 are warm.
Okay.
So Mindy and Ryan, I've known them for a long time. Travis is a good friend of Mike's. Mike recruited Travis before Mike even got licensed. He was like, dude, watch what I'm doing. I got this new thing going on. If it works out, you're going to want to hop in. And obviously it did. And so he did. And then German, we found through a Facebook ad back in June of 2021. He's on track to help over 100 families this month, by the way. So that's pretty cool for him. That'll be the first for him or anyone on Inception. So he'll be giving you a run for your money this month.
Let's go, man.
And then, right. And then David Starr was a client of Mindy's husband, Andrew. He showed up to his house, got no-showed, rebooked it, went out there. He didn't buy, but he was like, hey, how much do you make if I would buy? He told him, he was like, all right, where do I sign?
That's smart.
So that's the short version of how we found him. So yeah. And then we have a lot of other up and comings that are cold market as well. So it's definitely worked out well for us, but warm market is definitely where it's at. It's don't ignore cold, but warm is definitely the easiest to help them get up, get going, make money. But if you're very conscious about building a good relationship with the cold market, then it definitely works. We've got people like Gary Green, Janelle Watson, Nick Garay, Colby Landman. I shouldn't start naming people, but those are just some of the top cold market people that we've found and been able to meet and help and work with. You'll be seeing a lot of logos from people like that coming up soon too.
I love that. So instead of asking you how you kind of manage, your agents, how do you manage the leaders? Because to me, if I look at your growth and a lot of people's growth, it's because you're not focusing on, hey, I'm going to manage 700 agents all day long. Instead, you're going to worry and manage 5 managers that will help that growth. So how does that look like? Are you more hands-on, more hands-off, more hands in there when you're needed? How do you manage?
Yeah, good question. That's something I've been learning and growing on a lot, especially over the last year and a half. Because for a while there, I was doing it wrong. So what I was doing is I was telling myself, hey, I found these leaders. Now let me help them grow. And then just focusing on them. But what I realized is now I'm not leading from the front, because the only 2 ways to be successful in this business are to write and recruit. So I was trying to force duplication on them instead of just doing what works, write and recruit. And so that is some of the many lessons we learned in 2022, 21 into 22. It doesn't work like that. You have to do what you're helping other people do, just do it more and better than them so you can help them with it and grow with it. And so that was a big lesson learned. So I would say that don't necessarily manage them so much as I I do my best to lead from the front and help them when they want it, because that's a much less stressful relationship. And it also plays to human psychology much more, because if you're trying to force something in someone, they're going to resist you, maybe even subconsciously. But if you're just growing and pursuing more business and recruiting more agents into the business and helping them, then other people want to know how you're doing it, and they'll do more of it as well. So that was a big lesson learned. But I would say that's kind of how I did and then corrected that dynamic.
And, you know, you go back to before when we're talking about, like, how do you learn entrepreneurship and you don't feel like one. And then it's like, how do you do it? You start doing that stuff. You make some mistakes. You manage somebody the wrong way. And you're like, all right, well, just won't do that again. Like, it's like touching the stove, right? You know, you touch the stove.
It's
all
hot.
right, it's hot. It's not touching anymore. Let's go over here now.
Yep.
Let's go to the freezer.
Yep.
So now, last thing I want to
100%.
wrap with, and you're awesome, is the lock-in. So you are a lock-in traveling machine. Speaking to your managers are holding them, doing a great job of that. Talk to me about what they look like, feel like, and what it's bringing you in volume and new writers.
Yeah, so I would say lock-ins are something we resisted a little bit at first, again, because I'm a hard-headed idiot and don't like change, but and because they're a lot of work too. It's a lot of work. It looks fun if you market it right, but it is a lot of work with a little bit of fun. So we realized, hey, we really need to get into this because all the top teams are doing them. So that speaks to, you know, the credibility and validity of it. So we've been learning as we go with them, just like anything else. But what we've seen is it builds a culture that you can't build any other way. You can't, virtual doesn't replace being in person with agents, pouring into them, having them watch you work, you watching them work. It's irreplaceable. So you'll see months and months, if not years, of growth in agents in a short 2, 3, 4 day period. So it's like, okay, that. Well, that's worth it.
Yeah,
that's 100% worth it there. Numerically, you'll see more volume come from it because everyone's working. When you're clear about, hey, we're coming here to work, and then everyone goes there and works, what do you know? They're working more when there's a bunch of people around doing the same thing than they are when they're at home by themselves with just a little square on a Zoom room. So you'll just naturally see more because people will be working harder with that extra work, with that extra time, attention, and training. You'll see massive growth. And also they are a lot of fun in a productive, working hard type of way. And it's very attractive to lots of people. So in other words, if you've got people that are considering the opportunity, what better way to show them the opportunity than helping them see 5, 10, 15, 20 agents just straight up working and doing what we do? Because what we do isn't hard. So when someone can come in, see what you're doing, hang up with a client and be like, oh yeah, I just made this much. And it just blows their mind. Like, seriously, that's how much you made from what I just want you to do? It's a no-brainer at that point. This last one, we had a guy in car sales. He was strongly considering this, but kind of on the fence, because obviously the car sales route is very proven. It's been around for decades, and you know it's decent money with a lot of work over decades of time, right? And so when he sees all these people in there, new to sales, we had one girl that's never been in sales before, was a RN. She helped 4 families, and those were her first 2 policies, and she helped 4 families over the couple days. And so when he sees stuff like that happening, he's like, oh yeah, like I'll go turn in my 2 weeks because this is a no-brainer. So you're able to help people see what it looks like and how simple it is, but how much money you can make helping families here in such a short period of time. So it's effective for the new agent to really give them a boost of confidence, because if they come to that and don't make a sale, it's just because they were sitting on Instagram the whole time and not working. Right. And that's on them, not you. So as long as you set the expectations, make it clear on what's happening, make sure everyone has enough leads to work, and enough food and energy drinks to keep working, like they're bound to help some people. So we were able to have about 15 agents out there. About 25 total people came in and out at some point in time. We averaged about 17, 18 there any given time. 6 first-time riders, and we helped 70 families coming from a team that their best week ever was 48 families, and this was 3 days, not a whole week. So obviously they'll probably help over 100 families this week. So so yeah, it was absolutely incredible. Saw a ton of growth, and we're looking forward. We got another one coming up here, and well, we're doing one right now here at the Indiana office, and then another one coming up at the end of the month, and another one in April. So with different teams and stuff. So it's incredible. They're worth every penny, and a few hours less of sleep, but they're incredible and a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they grow and evolve throughout the year.
You know what I love is, you're doing something and teaching virtual, but the importance of face-to-face in you and your agent, that you said a mouthful of, you're accelerating them getting going or not. Because let's face facts, if I recruit people all over the country, they can get on the phone with me. Hell, they can get on Zoom with me. But there's something to be said. If I can sit with you, go through it, I might say one thing that clicks, that you can get them to the next level. So I love that.
Yeah, 100%.
That's incredible. Well, you're the man, bro. And we are on this crusade of board member in March. So I hope we can get there together. And, maybe we'll toast and have a drink to it when we get there in April.
I agree, man. It's going to be awesome. 1,000 family March. Let's make it happen.
Yes, sir. You can come down and you can enjoy the nice, hot, warm weather down here.
Yeah, I was going to say, definitely me coming to you, not the other way around.
For sure. It's like February and it's like 93. Like it's not a bad life. Can't complain.
Not at all. Not at all.
Well, I appreciate you. Anything I can do for you, of course, please reach out, and I'll be rooting for you, and I can't wait to see you pop up on that leaderboard.
Likewise. Let's get it.
All right, brother. Have a great day. Thanks for joining us.